Welcome to Road America as Ferrari turns this fantastic circuit red. For this weekend of the Ferrari Challenge, an extraordinary place just outside the village of Qualy. This extraordinary track, some 4 miles long and really challenging for the drivers, will offer a fitting test in the sunshine as well as the weather conditions are glorious and set for our drivers across their races this weekend as we reach the very sharp end of Ferrari Challenge North America for 2023. Having been to Miami and Cota and Road Atlanta and Montreal and Sonoma, here we find ourselves then at Road America, ready for the lights to go green. Well, the lovely weather the nice man was talking about took a turn for the worse in the early hours of this morning. We've had some rain. Hello, welcome to Road America. Here we are. For qualifying for our Ferrari Challenge drivers for day 2 of our race weekend here at Road America. But thankfully, the rain clouds are beginning to dissipate, and the rain has certainly stopped, but the track conditions are a little damp, to say the least, for our drivers that will go out for qualifying. This is our calendar then as we reach the conclusion of our 2023 season. What an eclectic mix of tracks that we have been to, and of course it's not all over yet because the finale mondiale is still to come in Mugello in Italy right at the end of October. Very much looking forward to that, and the drivers looking forward to stretching their legs around the Tuscan countryside, and it is the Wisconsin countryside that the drivers get to stretch their legs around right now. And this is where we are, Road America. Shay, Adam alongside me here. It's a wonderful circuit, which you said you will enjoy it when you come here, Dave, and you've not been wrong.
Well, good morning, Dave, and yes, welcome to the beautiful countryside of Wisconsin. We are basically on par with Toronto, a tiny bit north, just to put it into context of where in the U.S. we are, but it is beautiful Road America, 4.048 miles, 14 turns, known all around the world, mostly by their names. We've got Canada Corner, the Carousel, the Kink, the Billy Mitchell Bend, which is the turn 13 complex, but there are a couple of interesting points for this morning, namely that the track is damp, as you pointed out. It means that we are going to have a very different qualifying session, very different lap times to what we had yesterday. The biggest problem being there is no advantage to going off the line because it's slippery out there everywhere around.
Thing is that as you've made us aware over the course of our weekend, the track has been newly repaved, and that will play into this as well. So we will see how that pans out for qualifying. Down there in the sharp seat, or sharp stand, as I'm sure she will be standing, and can see what the track conditions are like. Amanda Busick, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys, and it is definitely damp down here. I do want to also make mention that Road America played host to that impressive firework display yesterday that Tony Davis promised us would be spectacular. He made good on his words, but I'm also down amongst a lot of pensive drivers down here. We did see wet conditions earlier in the season, but it's been mandated that the Shell class, the Shell AM class, will go out on wet tires, and they're going to make the call as these sessions progress if there's going to be a switch back to those slicks. But you know, kind of some unknowns here. We talk about the importance of qualifying at Road America. All 4 pole sitters yesterday ended up winning the race, so it could be kind of shaken up here in these conditions. But there's one thing about taming Road America when the conditions are nice. How do you tame Road America when the conditions are like this?
You're the first car out of the pit lane, I think, is going to be the answer today, Dave. Yesterday, the first car in line was the car that ultimately wound up second in all of our qualifying sessions. Yes. But today, there will be an advantage because no spray. These Pirellis do move a lot of water, so any dampness that is still on the track will be kicked up into the air. Clean view out in front of you will be very important, but also getting in that lap time early, because chances are we could get somebody thrown off the track and perhaps stuck, unable to extricate themselves.
Yeah, very fair points that you make, and something that we don't make enough of with regards to when cars go out is the fact that visibility when you have damp conditions really, really compromised for any car that is not P1 at that particular point.
Yeah.
And you almost find yourself having to come offline almost so that you can see where you're going, Shay.
Which is tricky here
Yeah.
because with the new pavement, there really is one preferred line. And if you go off it, it is at your own peril. The green flag is out. The first car to take to the track is championship leader Lisa Clark. And just while we have this moment of quiet, Amanda mentioned it multiple times yesterday, the team's able to listen to us over the loudspeakers. Driver coaches, please remind your drivers just how difficult it is to come into the pit lane here and how much more slippery that will be than the racetrack surface, because of course there aren't cars moving water off of the pit lane entry, so that will be damp for the entirety of all 4 qualifying sessions.
Very good point that you make, and I'm sure they will take note of that and warn drivers accordingly. Darren Bernstein that we're looking at right now in the 169 car as the first of the cars go out to show for this very short, sharp qualifying session, just 15 minutes long. And Lisa Clark was the very first in the queue. And Shay, you and I, we were off the air and doing our research ahead of this qualifying session. About 15 minutes before the session, you said, Shay, this is when you need to put your car in the pit lane. Be ready to go.
Yep, be first out because of that big advantage for the visibility and also to have the first one to set a lap time. If we do go red at some point in time in the session, you want to have had your banker lap, as you talked about yesterday, Dave. So this is the opportunity, and clearly Lisa Clark's team and driver coach and perhaps herself too, eager to get this over, get qualifying done, banked, go sit and wait for the drivers meeting for the videos of what to do and what not to do, as our race director Todd Snyder is always blessing us with, and just get into this race day.
And Todd has got a wonderful way of delivering that information during the briefing. I mean, he's almost an entertainer, isn't he? You know,
really is.
He can turn something which is really a negative and deliver it in such a way that you think, oh yeah, do you know what, Todd, you're right. And a very, very, very competent pair of hands that this series is in.
Speaking of competence, Jeffrey Nunberg is out around the track. Another good top 5 finish yesterday for Jeffrey. Very impressed with his drive and his aggressiveness, particularly early on in the race. Very competitive, trying to battle for the podium position. Came up 1 spot short yesterday. Let's see what Jeffrey can do today.
Yes, it will be good to see how he can take to these conditions, not only in qualifying, but of course the race to come as well. So at the moment then, the cars just, if I may say, being probably quite a bit cautious, aren't they, in terms of what they can do and where, because offline there is going to be standing water as well. So you will see the line develop here, and we're watching Lisa Clark, who of course was up there on the podium yesterday, championship leader, as Shay has said. She's had an utterly stellar season. And from here, we'll be heading to the Ardennes in Belgium next weekend to compete there in Spa.
Which is another track that will probably have some moisture on it, so this is a good warm-up for Lisa.
Snow most likely, and hail.
Gosh.
Yeah, there's no telling. Looks like Bruce Cleveland right behind, is that right? And Bruce, of course, having, I mentioned yesterday, a real purple patch. He's 3 successive wins in a row, having taken victory yesterday.
Well, and not only the 3 wins, but you look at his accomplishments over the last 7 races. He's had 3 wins, 3 second-place finishes as well to correspond with that. A couple of pole positions, 1 fast lap. It's really been a great show of form from Bruce Cleveland. But the thing I'm noticing right now, Dave, they are very much sticking to the racing line, the dry line. And that's what we expected because of the new pavement and all the oils coming up from it. There really is no advantage to going off the line, whereas in the wet, in most situations, you want to avoid the places where the tire rubber has been laid down.
And there is an argument, isn't there, that you know, sometimes it can be utterly perilous to do so. And as you say, with the new paving, and yeah, you're right, the oils kind of seep up, don't they? And we watch Bruce Cleveland then, the back end of his 488 challenge, Evo then, and running the clock on both Bruce and also Lisa Clark to see what indicative times they will give us right at the start of this session. But I remind you, the session is only 15 minutes long, and therefore it's of critical importance, in my opinion, to bank a lap early on more than ever before.
And the problem with this track in particular being 4 miles in length, it takes 2 minutes 12 seconds if you're hustling around here in the dry. Expecting our pull time to be somewhere around 2:34, 2:35.
Okay.
So we do have a lot of wiggle room. It will drop as the sessions progress. Coke Michelle will be significantly quicker than that. Trofeo, Pirelli, even quicker than that. And that's not just because of the drivers having the advantage in their placement in their categories, but the advantage in the track being dried out by the previous sessions as well. I think by the time we get to Trofeo Pirelli, we should see a pole time maybe somewhere in the teens even, if we could be so fortunate.
You're absolutely right. This track is really, really going to evolve across our qualifying sessions this morning, and those that will benefit are those that are going to be going very, very last in qualifying. The track will be at its best.
It could be a last driver across the line takes pole in Trofeo Pirelli.
It really could. So we watched Lisa Clark then climb the hill, and there is the pit lane entry, which Shay was talking about just a few moments ago, and the fact that the water won't be dissipated off there quite as it will on the track. And here comes the indicative time, which is a 2:32.414. Here's Bruce Cleveland then, who posts a 2:34.4.
What I really liked about Lisa's lap, just the little bits that we were able to see, very smooth movements, no sudden jerks, no overreacting, as her driver coach Kyle Marcelli watching on there with the other team members from Scuderia Course, a team that has won multiple championships through Ferrari racing and many different iterations as well. Very accomplished. They are the right people to have on Lisa's side, but she wasn't panicking. She wasn't doing anything that the car didn't want to do.
No.
That's exactly, you go quick in the wet.
It was also interesting when we saw that shot of the pit lane that Lucio Vigani, who is head of Pirelli Motorsport,
Yes.
of course, he will take a very, very close eye on what's going on out there, because running on the Pirelli wet weather tyres at the moment, as we look at the all-yellow car of Dan Cornish, the Ferrari of Austin driver, who's also up there yesterday on the podium. And Darren has had a very, very good season as well. We'll be looking for a indicative time to come from Dan Cornish. The Ferrari of Austin driver at the moment is Lisa Clark, Steve Check, P2. Then it's Darren Bernstein, Jeff Nunberg, who you were extolling the virtues of, and Lance Qualy. And I think I saw the T on the Lance Qualy car as well.
Yep, that was after an incident in one of the test days. So he's been running in the T car for the majority of this weekend, actually. So it might be his backup car, but in effect it is his primary car running at Road America. And the good news is that all of these cars exactly the same, makes not a lick of difference. So you don't have to worry about running a backup car to a primary car. It's not as if there's any disadvantage.
The Ferrari of Atlanta driver Lance Qualy, as we look at the back end of the Dan Cornish car right now. So Dan out on a lap here, and at the moment is some 7 seconds down on the fastest time that has been set, and has been set by this lady Lisa Clark, the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver. She's running onto the rumble strips there, and
yeah, a bit wide at the exit of Canada corner.
yeah. And Lisa continues on her way. Let's go back down to the pit lane and Amanda Busick.
Well, I'm pretty sure this might be music to the ears of some of the drivers out here, especially as we push through these qualifying sessions, hearing that the track is actually drying pretty fast. Shay, do you and Dave, do you think that's a reflection of the new pavement, or is that just the conditions we have going on here at Road America?
I think it has a lot to do with the conditions as they are right now. And Amanda, you can actually add on this, because I think it is pretty humid in the air, so that would be helping. The more that the water gets kicked up, the quicker it'll dissipate.
It's humid, but there's a lot of cloud coverage, right? We're not getting that sun shining on the track to kind of dry it out. So I'm wondering almost if that's having like the opposite effect of keeping kind of moisture in the air. So, but good to know that water is moving off this track, and hopefully some of these lap times will start falling as we push through the qualifying.
I'm sure you're right. The thing is, when you're out there, Shay, and you will know this from bitter experience, as we look at Roger Monteforte, the Ferrari Central New Jersey driver who's running P8 at the moment. The Pirelli wet weather tyres work well in the wet. They work much less well when the track is drying.
Yes.
And you oftentimes see this in races, where if the race has started wet, the drivers, just before perhaps changing the rubber, they're actually seeking out the dampest parts of the circuit to try and keep those tyres in the right operational window.
It's true. You don't want your tires overheating. That's when you can find issues. Thankfully, this is a very short and sharp session. It will present an issue for the Pirelli tire engineers as to which tire you recommend people go on for the upcoming sessions to IMSA race control. But thankfully, as we mentioned, Didier Tace and Todd Snyder up in race control making that call, two of the best that we could have on our side. But it will be an issue as the session progresses. Thankfully, they will not have to start on these qualifying tires. They will be able to start on dry weather tires, so that will make a good difference for the race. But as we mentioned, the track conditions getting better. Dane Cornish went to the top of the charts that last time around. Jeffrey Nunberg is now in second, Darren Bernstein in third, and Lisa Clark, after having a bad run through Canada Corner, did not improve on her best lap time the last time around, meaning that she is still in fourth. But right now she is being hounded by yesterday's race winner, Bruce Cleveland.
So we have a situation here now with less than 5 minutes remaining where our expected, anticipated order of who's done what and who will do what in qualifying is somewhat mixed up, isn't it? Dan Cornish, Jeff Nunberg, Darren Bernstein, the top three, and then it's Lisa Clark is P4, and Bruce Cleveland, who took the win yesterday, down there in P6 at the moment, and Bruce is desperately trying to get by Lisa, isn't he?
Well, he is, but also he's going to get a great run off of Lisa. If he stays there in her draft, this will set up his next lap beautifully, and he should be able to go to the top of the charts, not this time around, but the next lap through. Let's see, does Lisa improve that lap? She does not. She actually goes a tick slower than her previous best. Bruce does improve upon his best, but he is still only in P6, as all of a sudden, Steve Check has jumped up to P1. Excellent job by the Ferrari and Rancho Mirage driver, car number 124.
Yes, he's delivered a 2:30.011, which is significantly quicker than anybody else by some 8/10, and it's this man, Dan Cornish, who's currently P2. Jeffrey Nunberg is P3, and we have just 3 3/4 minutes of this session remaining. So as we continue to watch Dan Cornish then in the 163 car, and I have to say that Amanda is absolutely right that the information that's coming back from the drivers are the fact that, and we can visibly see that now on the wonderful pictures that we're able to bring you, that the track, the dry line in particular, is a completely different color to the rest of the track.
It is, and now Lance Qualy, actually, having come into the pit lane to make a brief appearance there, he is going back out with 3 minutes and 14 seconds remaining. He'll get one more lap. He does need to not dilly-dally, though, around this out lap, that's for sure, but it is drying out rather quickly. And right now, we've got an all yellow and black front row between Steve Check and Dan Cornish.
So here comes Lance Qualy then, who has momentarily been into the pit lane, as you say, and the Ferrari of Atlanta driver is on his, what is going to be effectively be an installation lap. Then, as you quite rightly say, Shay, he's going to get one chance at this.
Third in the championship for Lance Qualy as well after yesterday's race. He got dropped down one place behind Bruce Cleveland, so Lance trying to regain that position as a bit of a race is broken out on the track, as tends to happen in qualifying, between Darren Bernstein and Jeffrey Nunberg coming through the kink. Let's see where they choose to place their cars, well away from the curbs. And yes, look at how much puddling there is at the curbing at the kink. That will be big for particularly our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. They will like to use those curbs there. Everybody else, please leave quite a bit of space.
You're absolutely right. The moment you go offline and you know the water is not being dissipated from those parts of the track that are not being used, therefore they're going to stay damp for longer. And the minute you put one wheel onto that could be perilous.
Frequently is through the kink.
Yes.
It's not a place where people often get away with making mistakes. Let's see, as these two come through the final corner, can Jeffrey Nunberg improve upon his best lap time? He's currently P5, giving Darren Bernstein a bit of a tow up the hill. Bernstein P6, do they change positions? Nunberg and Bernstein, no, neither one improves on their best lap. One more to go, gentlemen, let's see what you can do.
So this is Dan Cornish then, who's currently sitting at P2. We were watching Jeffrey Nunberg and Darren Bernstein as they cross the timing line. Here comes Dan Cornish. We'll see if this is an improvement from Dan then. Currently sitting at P2. No way. Look at this. His cumulative time is in the 240s. He will get another lap, but it will only be one lap. He's got clear track space ahead of him. So I wonder whether that was a setup for this lap, Shay. So let's see. Bear in mind there's a point up for grabs in qualifying as well, which is critical when it comes to the championship, of course, because every single point is of great importance. As we ride on board right now with Bruce Cleveland, who is currently sitting P3. So he has usurped Lisa Clark, hasn't he? And Roger Monteforte doing well, you know, P4.
It really is. I need to see where Lisa Clark is, because her last lap was 25 seconds off of what it should have been. And she currently is mired down in P7. So for our championship leader, that is not a good place to be. Hopefully she is still out on the track, circulating, trying to better that lap time. But her number of laps turned is not that great either. So potential concern for a championship leader in the Copa Chalam category.
So 15 seconds remaining. Bruce Cleveland then on a lap here where he will be hoping to improve still further from the time that has given him P3 at the moment. It is Czech from Cornish, from Cleveland, from Monteforte. They are the top four. Checkered flag is out on the session. If you're on a lap, it will still count, and that is certainly the case for the Ferrari Silicon Valley driver Bruce Cleveland, who comes into this qualifying session on a rich vein of form, to be fair, having taken 2 wins in Sonoma and backing that up with another win yesterday. So Bruce Cleveland then on the final stages of this lap, and his previous time, which was some 9/10 away from the fastest time, which has been set by Steve Czech. That's what he's got to try and find as he climbs the hill now and heads towards the timing beam. He will break that, and we will see if it is an improvement from Bruce Cleveland. Target time at 2:30.011. I think it's there or thereabouts, and my goodness, it is there. 2:28.614, a full 1.3 seconds quicker.
What was that we were talking about? Last car across the line, gonna have the advantage. Here we go, Jeffrey Nunberg jumps up to P2, Darren Bernstein P3. So in the span of about 5 seconds, Steve Czech goes from pole position to 4th.
Now here's Dan Cornish. He was another one that was on a really, really good lap. So let's see if that converts into a time that's going to trouble those top 3. He's currently sitting P5. Here comes Dan Cornish heading towards the beam right now. Target at 2:28.614. And it's a 2:30.089 for Dan Cornish. So despite all efforts to try and improve, it wasn't going to be there. Lance Qualy, another driver that we are expecting potentially to improve, Shay.
And a lot of wiggle on the back end of Lance Qualy's Ferrari as he came into braking in Canada corner. Manages to keep it underneath him, though. This is a decent lap. We'll have to wait and see what he can do through turn 14. And if he can indeed cross the timing beam within the next 15 seconds, he could jump to pole position. Let's see if Lance Qualy can claim that valuable championship point away from Bruce Cleveland, the man who jumped him in the championship after yesterday's race. 2:25, 2:26, 2:27, 2:28. No, it will not be a pole position for Lance Qualy. So congratulations to Bruce Cleveland on P1 yet again.
Well, it's a valuable point, and it's also valuable grid position, isn't it? P1, you're not going to get better than pole position, so well done to Bruce Cleveland. Jeff Nunberg, another really, really great drive in qualifying, in my opinion. And Darren Bernstein, good to see him at the sharp end of qualifying too.
Very happy with the mix-up that we've had in qualifying. It's nice to see some variety coming into play. Now, that being said, the race, completely different situation. We don't hand out the trophies for qualifying.
No, but of course, for us as race fans, what it does mean is that those that we expect to be right up there, including Lisa Clark, who is at the moment, as you can see, in the pit lane, they're going to have some overtaking to do, and it's going to mix up the order, and it's going to provide for a really entertaining race, I feel sure. So this is the 1-2-4 car now. Steve Czech, who's currently P4, he, of course, was P1 for quite some considerable time.
He was, and while these cars come back around on their cool-down lap, we do have Copa Shell in line, ready to go out for their green flag. Amanda, wet or dry tires?
Yeah, take a closer look on those race cars. It is still wet tires. I did see tire pressure adjustments going down here, getting ready for this class, but I was able to catch up with Cameron Root quickly just on how he felt about wet condition. He said he got to test his skills a little bit in Montreal earlier this year, had a little spin, but was able to get back into competitive position, almost winning the race, but said, hey, I'm a kid from the Pacific Northwest. This is exactly what I was born to do up here. So we'll see if some of the locational benefits of some drivers can be on display here today.
Looking at Tor Haugen then, I have to say I'm perhaps a little bit surprised that someone is not going to go with the slicks, because I thought
it's not their choice.
No, of course not. I thought it had dried out enough, and there's a really good backdrop to our results from qualifying in terms of how the track looks. Bruce Cleveland then P1, Jeffrey Nunberg P2, Darren Bernstein P3, Steve Czech P4, then it's Dan Cornish who's taken P5, Roger Monteforte P6, then it's Lance Qualy P7, championship leader Lisa Clark down there in P8, Louis Perescoya P9, Anthony DiCarlo then sits on P10 with And no times from Williams, Goodwin, and Neil Langberg as well. So, yeah, you can see there, Shay, and as we look at hospitality, you can even see around the pavement around hospitality how the water has gone.
It has, and Race Control will probably be evaluating this for the Trofeo Pirelli qualifying sessions to come up and make a determination at that. It's wise. People with less experience, send them out on the tires that are more acclimatized to these kinds of conditions. Definitely a good move. But now I'm looking back to Montreal because, of course, we had...
Yeah, just a bit, didn't we?
Yeah, just a little bit of our stuff coming down from the sky. Who was fast there in particular? Well, qualifying there, I seem to remember not being wet, but the races. And who set fast lap in race number 2, which was particularly damp? That would be Frank Szczesniak. So keep an eye on car number 122, particularly for a quick lap. And after Frank had a very good run yesterday, using turn 6 to make every kind of pass anywhere.
I know.
4th place finish yesterday for Frank. His 5th 4th place finish on the season. Could be another pole position for Frank.
And this is the Frank Szczesniak car that we're looking at. And I did say to Frank at the party last night, thank you. Dave, what have I done? I said, you were, for Shay and I, you were TV gold, friend. You know, you really, really put on a great show for us. So the Ferrari of Austin driver, who's a truly lovely man to speak to and a very, very good racing driver. And some of his moves yesterday came out of the unorthodox division where we didn't expect to see, but he kind of made it work. He
did. He would line people up well going into turn 5, set them up a little bit for an over-under, but then make the pass, diving down the inside into turn 6. Did it a couple of times where it paid off beautifully. It was quite impressive driving. Speaking of impressive driving, how about this young man on the screen right there, car number 197? That's Gray Favre. He's someone who's really come into his own with quite the record in his 5 races. Has finished a worse of 3rd, so that's pretty good running for Gray.
Yeah, that's not bad. Here we can see then perhaps an unfamiliar livery on the David Veronin car, which we explained yesterday, but Shay in a comprehensive manner will explain once again why the 177's paint scheme is a little bit different.
David Veronin with a crash in testing, rendering his car not usable for the remainder of the weekend, switched to a backup car that happens to be Roy Carroll's backup car. That's why the Be Safe storage is all over the side of that, so we do still have Be Safe's car with Roy Carroll in 121, but that's in the Shell AM category. Speaking of Shell AM, let's hear from our pole sitter because Bruce Cleveland is with Amanda Busick now.
And the word that he used to describe the conditions out there was sketch. And Bruce, how much trust do you have to have in yourself as a driver to manage Road America like that?
Well, the track was really tough this morning because of obviously all the wet. And then you've got, in qualifying, you got cars in front of you, so you got both of those to contend with. You got to figure out where your new brake zones are going to be. And then there's these wonderful little places where were completely great yesterday are horrible today. So, yeah, it's pretty tough. And I think that in our class, you can see the times are quite a bit slower than what we were doing. And people didn't want to make mistakes that cost them from being in the race. So I think all of us slowed it down. I don't think there's any red or yellow, so I think we did a really good job out there.
Just quickly, for the guys going out on track, if there's any advice that you were going to pass on to them, anything that you saw out there that you'd want them to know?
Yeah, turn 5 and into the carousel. Be really careful with that. And there's a big bunch of puddles out on the kink, so tone it down a bit.
Thank you, Bruce. We'll see you race time.
Right, thank you.
Very wise words, Bruce Cleveland, and thank you for helping out everybody who's going out after you.
What a guy.
What a guy.
So we look at the David Veronin car then, and there you can really see how that line has developed over the previous Shell Am session. Now we're into the Shell session with the drivers out there on track and taking note of what our as we've got a car stationary on.
John Viscup.
Yeah, on the, and we've got a red flag now.
Red flag is out, yeah. Is that coming out of Canada corner? He is on the line, so people are going to have to go around him as red flag is being displayed on our timing screens as well, so everybody knows that. The clock continues to count down, though, so this will eat into the qualifying session, and no one has set a lap time as of yet.
No, fair point, as we're looking at the back end of the Eric Marston car right now, climbing over the crest here, the Ferrari Beverly Hills driver. And Eric Marston then, and he, like all others, impacted this session impacted by the red flag for the stricken car that we've seen out there on the track. And as you quite rightly say, what this does, it eats into the session time. And 10.5 minutes remaining now. I'm sure it's not going to be too long before that car is going to be able to be recovered or got going again, so we'll go back to green pretty quickly, I would think.
There is a, oh, and now John Viscop able to move. There is a cutout if he turns right now, which he does not, where he could have escaped to if he was having trouble, perhaps didn't think that he could make it all the way up the hill back into the pit lane. But he thinks he's okay, so let's hope that John can make it back up that hill. I did see the tow truck, the flatbed, pull in behind him and then dive off into the little cutout. But that's something that you get from the drivers' meetings. They're very aware to let you know the orange cutouts are the gaps where it is safe to pull your car behind the wall. We saw that demonstrated in this race yesterday, as a matter of fact. Very heads-up driving. I think, was it Roger Monaforte who moved his car back behind the wall after a lap 1 incident? I think it was. So we do have those. We have fire stations as well all around the track where there are perhaps more fire bottles than at other flagger posts. So it's little things like that that help everybody,
of course, progress
with the racing weekends and keep the green stuff out instead of the red.
Absolutely. There's Cameron Root that we're looking at right now, and Cameron Root then a very good time of it yesterday for Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo in the distinctive white and green colours of his 488 Challenge Evo. Don't think it's going to be long before we get this session back underway again, having seen that car now back safely into the pit lane. Credit to all our Copichelle AM drivers, and as we heard from Bruce Cleveland, he was absolutely right. There was actually, I don't think there was anyone that went offline at all. I think they were all being super cautious, but very sensibly so.
Yeah, and exactly as he mentioned, the wet line off the exit of turn 5 to just keep that in the back of your mind. We saw the puddling at the kink. The carousel, of course, already a slippery place in the dry. I can't imagine what it's like out there in the wet right now. And that really is a one-line path through the carousel to begin with. So at least that would help people see where they need to keep their cars placed based on where the dry line is.
Yes, fair point. So
green flag is back out now that all the cars have made it safely to the pit lane. 8 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Figure 3-ish minutes to get around and start a lap. Then you're looking at 2.5 minutes per lap. We've got 3 laps at the best, but while we've got an opportunity, because all of the cars going back out to try and get back up to speed, let's check back in with Amanda.
Well, in the Trofeo Pirelli qualifying classes, they currently have slicks on these cars, and Brad said that they're kind of talking through that. And just based on what you've seen, what you've heard, what are your thoughts on this at the moment?
Yeah, it's still pretty wet out there. It seems like there's 3 or 4 spots where it's pooling. So, you know, you're really taking a lot of penalty for having rain tires on for the rest of the lap, so we'll see.
Well, I just have to walk over here and talk to Mar Balkasoon because he nominated Brad for this interview. So we got to talk to you as well, sir. But just talk about your experience on wet conditions. And is it something that you welcome, or is it something that like, oh, no, not today?
No, I like it. I think it's a little bit of an equalizer. Everybody has to play it a little bit safer. And I think this is definition challenge right here. Fundamentally, things have changed, and how do you adapt, and who does it the best and the quickest, and, you know, make it an exciting race.
Based on what you guys saw yesterday with qualifying and stuff, it seemed like the track position was an important part of the race finish yesterday. Are there options on track to make up gains?
Yeah, I picked up 5 positions yesterday, so I think there are some smart spots that you can, if you're smart and you read the track, you can get in there and make a move.
Don't give your secrets away.
Definitely turn 1's fun, turn 3 is exciting, and then I got my fellow Brad actually out of turn 3, so it was fun to watch that actually play out of my mind, and then it worked. So.
Well, as said down here, there are slicks on these Trofeo Pirelli Ferraris, so we'll see what happens as this qualifying advances on.
Thanks so much, and thanks to the guys there for giving us their insight as we look at the car of Ray Acosta right now for the collection. Now, I was going to say, Shay, the qualifying session's 15 minutes long for each of our categories in the Ferrari Challenge, and of course with the suspension of this particular session, all of a sudden it has become a real dash for cash.
Yeah, it has, and it's dash for cash in points. In this situation, 1 bonus point going the way of the pole sitter, and with the championship as it is, Cameron Root wants that extra point because he wants the little bit of extra cushion. But after yesterday's race, David Veronin, particularly in car number 177, wants that back. He wants the swing to go in the other direction and to prove to himself that this backup car that he's in is just as fast as his primary car. And then we've got this gentleman on screen right now, Cyril Choksi, who had the start of the year to come away with the race win at Homestead Miami Speedway, as well as the pole position. He hasn't had a pole since Circuit of the Americas, so doing it right now in the wet, perfect opportunity.
Well, let's see if Cyril is able to deliver that then. The 173 car that we're watching on screen right now, the Ferrari of Denver driver, who has been simply superb to watch during our season this year. There's no question about that, and really enjoying his racing as well. So as we're hearing, the Trofeo Pirelli drivers that will be out for their session after this one have seemingly got those slick tyres on. We're now beginning to see those brake discs really light up, the rotors light up as a braking force, and there you can see as they run up there, Shay, it really is bone dry now.
It is, and it will be a situation where they won't be able to extract the most because they don't have the right tire on the car, the wet tire premium, with less contact points fewer contact points to the ground, meaning that you can move the water out of the way because there's place for it to go. Well, right now there's not really water for them to move, so you want more contact patches to be able to grab more of the ground, if you will, with those tires, and then be able to turn the car with more ease. Right now they're going to be fighting things that they don't normally experience. It's going to be less of a pleasant experience for them out there, but this is more of a skill setting area. Whoever earns pole in this session really truly earns it.
Yeah, you're right. It's remarkable, and my failing memory, but I mean what the Pirelli wet weather tyres are able to dissipate in terms of ejecting the water. It's huge amounts of water in a second. You know,
bathtubs.
Remarkably good tyre, but the wet weather tyres to work at their best need to be in wet conditions, and we are seeing drying conditions, which is precisely what you're saying, Shay, that the drivers are having to, they're using a different skill set. You can see there Cyril Choksi just getting a bit sideways.
The easiest way to think about it is as if you were walking normally. If you're walking normally, your foot is almost flat, as opposed to walking on tiptoes, where you only have a very little bit and you're kind of off balance, you're unstable, you feel like any breath of the wind is going to tip you over and knock you off. That's what these drivers are feeling right now as Cyril Choksi, first lap, goes fastest lap that we have seen so far today, a 2:23.270, followed up by Ray Favre with a 2:24.8, David Veronin 2:25.7, and Osvaldo Gallo, yesterday's Gentleman Cup winner, 2:28.6.
So the times are coming tumbling down then as we expected them to do so, and with just 3 minutes of this session remaining, Gray Falver then, P2, and now Cameron Root has been the very first driver to put it into the 2:20s, a 2:26.74 from Cameron Root.
That's an impressive lap from Cameron Root to go 2.5 seconds quicker than Cyril Choksi on his opener. Let's see what Ray Acosta can do as he comes through turn 14. Doesn't quite run all the way out to the curbs. Again, very smart. Oh, he's coming into the pit lane.
So the order on the left-hand side of the screen in the graphics that you can see, it is Cameron Root from Cyril Choksi, Gray Falver, then Roy Carroll, then Paul Loska. He was in the mix yesterday, that's for sure. Then it's David Veronin and Jan Bernier ahead of Frank Szczesniak and Tor Haugen and Eric Marston.
John Viskup is back out. He was the cause of our red flag a few minutes ago in this session. Let's see what lap time he can do. As Ray Acosta into the pit lane, Mike Luley yet to set a lap time. So John Viskup will be the last of our Shell competitors to turn their first lap. And where does it put him? Still bottom of the charts. Ah, that was his out lap. Okay.
So, yeah.
We'll keep an eye on what he can do. As Cyril Choksi exiting the carousel, going through the kink. As a race has broken out, Gray Favre is behind Robert McWilliams and then David Veronin, one car further up. I don't think Gray is going to be able to improve his lap time this round because he is all over McWilliams.
Yes, he is. So the McWilliams colour scheme across the wheels there, as you can see, Gray is looking for now. Who's that in strife? Is that the...
That is an all-red car.
Is it the Eric Marsden
Eric
car?
Marsden.
I thought it was Eric Marsden. It looks like it, so it's way off there. But
it's just the exit of turn 6, I believe. Yep, and he is actually pirouetted perfectly in the runoff, not even getting a stone on his Pirellis. that is a very lucky moment for Eric Marsden. All right, Cyril Choksi crosses the line, does not improve on his best time, so he stays P2.
You can see the car looking very skitty going into turn number 1. He can do another lap, that's for sure, and try for an improvement as Osvaldo Gallo has gone to P2 ahead of Cyril Choksi. And then Gray Falva P4, then it's Ryan Howell and Paul Loska. David Veronin out of position at the moment, Shay, down there in P7.
This is going to be a very interesting race later, Dave, if everyone stays as they are, because championship leaders and contenders, all sorts of wonky positions
Wonky
after
is
qualifying.
Yeah, and what that does, as I mentioned in our Shell-Am qualifying, what it does, it's a real leveler, as Bruce Cleveland said, and what it does, it really shakes up the order for us to provide a super race in terms of drivers that we know are going to have to be doing some overtaking.
We are about to see the checkered flag, as now it is waving on the starter stand. So this is the last lap for everyone. The first car to see the checkered flag was Cameron Root, who came into the pit lane, said, "Thank you very much. I have done enough." But now all eyes turn to David Veronin, and Amanda has a little more on him.
Well, you got to remember he is in that Roy Carroll backup car, so I imagine it's a little different racing someone else's or qualifying in someone else's car than you're on in these kind of conditions. But I heard a little bit more about that story of why that David Veronin is in that car. Roy Carroll had some issues here this weekend as well, but knowing that David is in this points chase, he went ahead and let him have his good backup. So talk about just the love between teammates and the camaraderie within these pits.
It really is wonderful, and Foreign Cars Italia, one of the teams that we always look to do well in the championship and in individual races, they would prepare the best possible cars that they can. So hopefully David Veronin feels a little more comfortable in this car after running it for quite a few sessions. But it is true, I mean, you've got your seat placement in exactly the right spot.
Yes.
The steering wheel, it grips up to your hands, and no matter how much grip tape you use, you're never going to get that just right feeling. It's a bit like Homer Simpson with his couch, you know, you've got your preferred settings with the car, and the more comfortable you feel in it, the faster you are able to go.
Inevitably, you're so right. We're following David Veronin, then at Gray Falva with the clock running on those drivers at the moment. David Veronin certainly out of position at the moment, down there in P7. This is the last lap that he is going to be able to complete as he begins to climb up the hill right now. The target time at 2:26.74. This is going to be way off that, Shay.
Yep,
way off
it
that.
is. He's already at 2:21, 2:22, 2:23, 2:24. Nope, that will not be an improvement for Veronin as he takes the checkered flag, remains P7. Gray Falva remains P4. So Cyril Choksi crosses the line P3. Yeah, no improvements that last lap around for any of the drivers on those tires. I think we had missed the peak for the wet weather tires, and now moving on to slicks is the right call.
Absolutely sure you are right. So what it does for us, though, it paints a wonderful picture for the race to come, because with the exception of Cameron Root, who banked that lap early on, and that 2:26.74, which has given him Class P1, we are seeing some drivers that are probably out of where we would expect to see them, and therefore that's going to point towards a hugely entertaining race.
It will be, and the exciting thing for us is we've now seen the crossover point. We know
Yes.
when it is on this track. If it rains again, we'll be prepared for that later, Dave.
Yes, I don't think.
I don't think.
No, I don't think the
but-
forecaster, but you never know, do you? You
No.
never know. So there, the 199 car that found P1, and there indeed is the peddler of said car. Cameron Root then removes the crash helmet and the hands device. The Ron Tonkin Gran Turismo driver has banked that point for pole position. Of course, has got that P1 starting position, which is supreme.
5th pole of the year for Cameron Root. What
Wow.
a season he is stringing together.
There we can see the 118 car of Paul Loska making a way back to the pit lane. And now then, with that session done and dusted, we are expecting to see our Pirelli Amp drives out on slick tyres. And Cameron Root, another great job done by him, and he's with Amanda now.
And Davey sweeps it here this weekend. He'll now have 2 of these pole position plates here at Road America. And you kind of called it before the session. You said that you're a kid from the Northwest and that you kind of like these conditions. But just tell us how the track evolved during that session.
Honestly, at first I thought it was pretty quick and not as bad as everyone was anticipating. Then thought I had like a flat in the back left. I mean, I was literally drifting. That's why I even pulled off. I thought I had an issue with my tire, but I was just trying to push as hard as I could. But I think everyone was
battling the same conditions.
When you approach a track, a new track that you've been to, and you have to come into it with a different mindset, is it an easy process for you to transition into?
I think you have to put a lot of practice into it. You got to learn, and I don't say practice makes perfect, but it pays off.
It did pay off today. Well done, Cameron.
Well,
Super envious of him getting 2 of those cool trophies.
yeah, those road to form pole position trophies are lovely, aren't they?
They are.
I tell you what, practice doesn't make perfect. Actually, you're doing all right, Cameron.
Yeah.
It's P1, and there's confirmation of that on screen. This is the result. Osvaldo Gallo, then P2. Cyril Joxy, P3. Then it was Gray Falver and Roy Carroll, P4 and P5, respectively. Paul Loska, David Veronin. He's going to be one to keep an eye on, going from P7 on the grid, then Jan Bernier, Frank Szczesniak. And then you can see the rest of the order there, and what a spin it was from Eric Marston. That provided some excitement during our qualifying session. Big save.
I'm really impressed by that,
Yeah.
to be honest. I've seen a lot of incidents at that corner that have not ended up as delicate or as inexpensive as that one was. So,
Okay.
Eric, job well done. Green flag is now out for our Trofeo Pirelli AM class cars. And this is where we sit just a little bit further up in our seats because, well, the fireworks should be on full display with this class. And namely, that's from Tony Davis, the man who brought the fireworks last night.
Yes, he was the architect of that fine show, wasn't he? And what a show it was. I mean, he promised much and certainly delivered.
The funny thing was, chatting with Tony after the show, he mentioned that the warning fireworks that went off to try and get everyone's attention that, hey, the show's about to start. And there was a shot of 4 that would go off, and then a period of silence and darkness. And then another shot of 4 that would go off, and he's kind of texting people going, is something going wrong? Why are there 4 fire? And then the Top Gun music started, and that's when the show began. So Tony, thank you so much for treating us all to such a wonderful display, and we can't wait to see what you can do in qualifying here, because Tony Davis is a man who often performs. He's gotten the win this year, he's gotten a fast lap, but he has not yet gotten a pole position. Amanda?
Shay, I love that while we were watching the fireworks presentation last night, we were like, I wonder what Tony Davis is thinking through this. And he was able to tell us right after the show. But he ended up also telling us about a unique relationship that he started to develop with Manny Franco. He had a bit of an off in Sonoma that really got to him more mentally than anything, and kind of was holding himself back from really attacking in this Ferrari. And he told us yesterday that his team was so proud of the drive that he had. And, Tony frankly said that he didn't know that he had such a great race, but they were just proud of him for getting back in that mindset, back into, he had that attack there in the race. It didn't go as planned, but just the idea that he can get back into that. But really talked about the relationship with Manny Franco and how much that he's helped him. So yet again, this paddock being a brotherhood and a support of such. And hey, remember that video we watched last night to kick things off? All about the teammates here. The football to racing comparison, I can see it.
It's so true.
Well, it's interesting because Tony was in just ahead of the fireworks last night. Shay, I was talking to Tony, who was in conversation with Louis Colmash, and as is typical of me, I rudely interrupted them. I rudely interrupted to say, Tony, do you know what? Your overtake, or your attempted overtake, fair play to you. Whatever monkey you'd got on your back in terms of the psychology from that accident, boy, you've thrown that away. And he said, you know what, the team was so proud of me, just saying exactly what Amanda was saying.
Yep, he pulled the monkey off and body slammed it to the ground and said, stay down. That was quite a performance. Chris Cagnazzi back in the paddock this weekend, another man who just couldn't stay away. You missed the Ferrari Challenge. You find yourself coming back to it at every possible opportunity. He's out on the track now, starting his fast lap. Mark Musso and Justin Rothberg also having already triggered the timing beam to begin their fast laps. Brian Cook out on the circuit going through turn 5 now. He's got his hazard lights on, turn 6, excuse me, got his hazard lights on, perhaps taking it a bit cautious on his outlap, learning the way around, as I'm sure his coach Mark Miller would have encouraged him very strongly. Take it easy out there, mate, then you can throw down a lap. As Brian Cook, our resident Australian, has found quite a bit of success so far this season.
Yes, it's been great to watch, hasn't he? So Brian Cook and Tony Davis really in the mix of it yesterday, in yesterday's race. And we can potentially expect the same today. We'll see what happens. You can see some of the standing water there. If you do go offline, you're not likely to there. But I'm just saying that the minute you put a wheel wrong, Oh, that's going to be different.
Big ramifications for misplacing the car by an inch or two, particularly when you are on the dry weather Pirelli tires, as you should be in these conditions, but there are puddles abounding, so you want to make sure that you are precise.
Yes, precise is you need to be millimetrically perfect,
Yes.
don't you, in terms of where you're placing that car. As we look now at the Justin Rothberg car number 29 for Ferrari at Palm Beach. What a stellar season Justin Rothberg is having. It's been great fun for us to watch, and having a conversation with him at the podium yesterday, and it's often a place where I have a conversation with Justin Rothberg, just saying. And we run the clock on Justin. We also run the clock on Mark Musso as well to see who will, what sort of times we're going to be getting now that those Pirelli AM drivers are out there. Unlike our Cobra Shell drivers, these guys are out there on the slick tyres, so we're expecting times much more reflective of what we would expect here at Road America.
4 poles, 5 fast laps, and 4 wins for Justin Rothberg on the season. So we look to see what he can do in this qualifying session and how he can extend that championship lead, perhaps by gaining a point, or can the guys chasing him claim one back?
Potentially so.
Mark Musso is a veteran of this track. First guy to set a time, and it is a 2:17.135. Very decent lap for the conditions.
And already the first third of the session has gone, so it's critical now as we climb uphill, as we ride on board here. And you can see over the crest of that hill, heading towards breaking the timing beam and giving us a time. And just as we cross that line, Dave Musial has gone P2, Chris Cagnazzi P3, Justin Rothberg P4.
Thanks for the ride, Dave Musial. You can tell it's him by the bright purple fire suit, as well as the purple on the car, the man who brings the Joker livery to this category. Missed a couple of races, a couple of weekends this season, but with a few second place finishes to his name so far, he's making a very strong comeback. And this is Musial Senior, if you will. 2.0 will be out qualifying in the next session.
And the Musials are not only very, very entertaining in terms of their livery and track activity, but off track as well. Great people.
Yes.
Have so much fun with them. As Tony Davis now, he breaks the timing beam. This is a P6 for Tony Davis. Expect more to come potentially from the Continental Autosports driver who provided us with such entertainment last night, which didn't involve a racing car. Unusually. So it's Musso from Musial, Cagnazzi, Chuck Whittle with a good time, and Michael Mathis and Justin Rothberg.
Here comes Brian Cook to set his first representative lap time as he gets on the brakes going into turn 14, just to have roll as much speed as you can and then carry it up that very steep hill that runs to the start-finish line. Brian Cook being trailed by, is that Lawrence Wynn, I think, behind him? Yes, it is, car number 14. Here's Cook. What can he do for his opening lap? P5.
Bit of debris there, you can see. Bit of rubber, I think, there, Shay, just over the crest of that hill. Here comes Justin Rothberg then. Justin Rothberg, P8 at the moment. That's not a number that you would necessarily assign to the Ferrari Palm Beach driver, and I think from the conclusion of this lap that may change. Where are we? We're counting it down right now, 2:05.67 as he heads towards breaking the timing beam. Here comes Justin Rothberg, target at 2:12.546, and it's a 2:12.426. Now, if I'm honest with you, the margin of progression from Justin was perhaps not as great as I thought it was going to be as he climbed the hill.
Fully agree with you on that one, Dave. I thought that was going to be a lap time in the 2:10s when I was seeing his run up the hill, but perhaps we were just slightly biased and trying to will the cars to go a little bit quicker than the conditions will allow at the moment. Here's Michael Mathis triggering the time line. He goes from P8 to P5.
Wow.
2:15.684 for the Ferrari of Central New Jersey driver. Brian Davis now coming around through Canada Corner. He's got that long run through the Billy Mitchell bend and then up into turn 14 where it will be just a slight dab of the brakes once again. And then we'll see what kind of time Tony Davis can put in. This looks like a decent lap.
It does. Tony Davis, the Continental Autosports driver. Bear in mind, he, for season 2023, had vaulted 2 categories, so has performed really, really well. And here he goes then, heading to break that beam then. Target time at 2:12.426. And Tony Davis, well, it's not where we necessarily expected it to be, but we've still got 6 3/4 minutes left.
Omar Balkasoon has used the force to go all the way to P1, car number 33, 212.206. He is 2/10 clear of our championship leader. And by the force, I mean, of course, the force of the draft, using the cars ahead of him, coming up the straight. But excellent qualifying effort from Omar. We heard from him a few minutes ago with Manda. And he had tried to rope Brad Favre into an interview, wound up getting stuck in one himself.
He got nailed
Maybe
perfectly.
that's the secret.
Ah.
Omar, do not avoid the microphone.
Well done, Omar, yes. And as you say, the force of the draft as opposed to the force of any extraterrestrial inside the car, that's helped with the pace. But Omar's done a brilliant job for Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale at 2:12.206. Justin Rothberg, Mark Musso, who we're watching right now, and Mark Musso, P3. And here comes Justin Rothberg, who's heading towards the line now as Mark Musso goes quickest with a 2:11.775. First driver into the 2:11s. Here's Rothberg. How can he respond? This is going to be a good time indeed. 5/10 quicker, so he goes to P1, but he's immediately vaulted by Chris Cagnazzi.
Wow, 2:10.264, almost a second faster than Rothberg. The track is drying with each passing lap. Musial is now up into the 3rd position. 5 minutes to go. That means we've got this lap, probably 2 more if they can get around. This is going to be an excellent finish to this session. We're going to be in the low, maybe 2:08s even, Dave.
Wow, that's a good prediction. Let's see if we can realize that. So Chris Cagnazzi it is then with a 2:10.264, the only driver into the 2:10s, and it's a long lap here at Road America, and that's the very car that at the moment is in that P1 position qualifying for Ferrari Challenge. Trofeo, Pirelli, Am drivers, the Ferrari of Long Island, pilot then of car number 1, having done a great job.
Would you like something a little bit funny in parody with Chris Cagnazzi?
Oh, please.
He's run one other weekend this season. That was at Homestead. The first race, he finished 12th. The second race, he got pole and won. The first race he ran yesterday, he finished 5th. So, if he keeps it this way, that means we could just hand him the winner's trophy straight away, right?
Okay, yeah.
Nothing would ever change in the race?
Do what you reckon.
Nope, not going to do that as Brad Favre now crosses the line up to P2 for Ferrari of San Francisco. He's only 2/10 off the Cagnazzi time. Here comes Michael Porter. What can he do? Currently P11. He does not improve that lap around. That was about 25 seconds off, so maybe cooling the tires for another attempted run. Let's see, 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go. And this is Lawrence Wynn crossing the line. Lawrence jumps up to P11, so good improvement.
There's quite a mix-up going on in terms of who is where at the moment, as you can see from the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen now. Justin Rothberg is throwing absolutely everything at this as he pedals that car up the hill here. The target is a 2:10.264. Here comes Rothberg then, currently P5.
No
improvement.
Does not improve, but Cagnazzi right behind him does. 2:09.441. Target acquired for Cagnazzi. It is the championship leader, and that is exactly the rabbit he needs to chase.
Doing a great job. This is a supreme qualifying session. Whoa, you could just see he had to hold on to that and did so with aplomb. It's Cagnazzi from Brad Favre then, Mark Musso's P3, then it's Brian Cook and Justin Rothberg as Michael Mathis now jumps up 3 or 4 places into P7. We need to see an improvement from this man, Tony Davis, who's currently, if I may be so bold, languishing down there in P10. It's kind of not where we expect to see Tony.
Very much out of position, and I mentioned it earlier. He's got a win, he's got a fast lap, but he does not yet have a pole position. Come on, Tony. This is your home track. This is the place where you put on such a spectacular show last night. Do it again right now. Here he comes up the hill to cross the line. The goal is a 2:09.441. Can he beat it? Well, he jumps up to 4th, so that was a great improvement that lap, but there is still more time to come, and he's got one more opportunity. He will see the checkered flag this next lap by.
Shay, please let me tell you about Omar Balkasoon, who is now P2, just 9/10 away from Chris Cagnazzi. Here comes Brad Favre then. He's not going to improve this time around. He's going to stay P3, so he's now Cagnazzi, Balkasoon, Favre, Musso, Davis are the top 5. Championship leader, P7.
And Brian Cook, second in the championship, is down in 6th. Here he goes. Can he improve on his time? Yeah, up to P2 for Brian Cook. What a lap.
this next minute and a half. I think that was the back end of Justin Rothberg. This is going to be Mark Musso. Is it climbing the hill here?
He's P5 right now, the Ferrari of Ontario driver. Can he move himself up? No, does not improve that lap, but he gets one more.
Yes, he can do another lap, can't he? Anyone that crosses the line now, they've got 1 minute and 9 seconds. So Cagnazzi from Cook, from Balcasoon, Falva, Musso, the top 5. Justin Rothberg improves, but only improves to P5. I say only improves to P5. Here comes Dave Musial then, returning to racing. Great to see Dave Musial back in the 488 Challenge. Evo is currently running P9, and not convinced this is going to be, yes, it is an improvement by 1 place.
8. Yep, so that was, it's always good when you're improving lap on lap, and you should be with the track conditions as they are. Here's Michael Mathis. What can he do? Currently P10, stays P10, just a tick off of his best lap time.
And 30 seconds remaining now in this qualifying session for our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers. Here is Tony Davis.
And I think he's going to be the first of our drivers to see the checkered flag. But let's see where he crosses the line, what the timing beam is at. He might get one more. He might just squeak this out. Tony Davis could be the last guy across the line.
It's going to be very, very close, isn't it?
Boy.
Because watch the time at the top of your screen. He is going to get another lap, I think, with right shape. And Tony
P3
improves to P3, and he can go again, I think.
He can. Omar Balcasoon, first guy to see the checkered flag. That means that the 33 will start no better than second place. Chuck Whittle crosses the line in P8 as it is right now for the Ferrari of Central Florida driver. Both of those Ferrari of Florida, various cities drivers, Fort Lauderdale and Central Florida being represented, they both improved their lap times the last time around, so it is getting faster out there.
Currently P6 is this young man, Justin Rothberg, and this is his last lap. He has got to nail every single centimetre of this track to ensure that he improves from that P6 position. So Justin Rothberg, Ferrari of Palm Beach then. Everything bar the kitchen sink is being thrown at this particular lap. You can almost feel the aggression and the way he is really shifting that car around the tarmac. And it's as he climbs the hill then, target time is a 2:09.441, and Justin Rothberg, is he going to be able to deliver?
No, P5
Wow.
for another one of the Florida-based drivers. That is a huge shock for Justin Rothberg. Needed that bonus point for the pole position. Well, for no other reason than to try and get a little bit of comfort. But let's see. Chris Cagnazzi has the pole position still as Omar Balcasoon on his cooldown lap, who is still going. Tony Davis is still out there, has not yet seen the checkered. Michael Mathis has not seen the checkered, and neither has Chris Cagnazzi. So there are 2 opportunities to steal pole away from Chris, as now that was Mathis taking the checkered. What can Tony Davis do?
So all eyes on the Continental Autosports driver then, Tony Davis. Is he going to be able to? Here he is in the number 4 488 Challenge Evo then. And Tony Davis really drove a demon of a race yesterday. Perhaps didn't get the result that he richly deserved, but he was certainly prepared to have a go because he was hard enough. Let's see what he can do in qualifying now. Target time, 2:09.441.
7, 8, 9. Oh, he does not improve that lap around. Pole position belongs to Chris Cagnazzi, who keeps his record of second race of the weekend pole.
Amazing.
That's still alive.
Amazing. So there we have it then. Our Trofeo Pirelli AM session is done and dusted, and the driver of this number 19 car, Chris Cagnazzi, then with a time of 2:09.441, the very, very best time. It was a brilliant drive from Chris in that qualifying session. Well
Really
done.
was. And thanks, Bert, for stopping him perfectly in a position where we can get Chris out of
Bert's
his car.
a good guy here.
Bert is very good, yes. Bert and his partner in crime, who we often refer to as Ernie. His name's actually Blair. Blair's another pit official who comes out to these Ferrari Challenge weekends. But Bert, very able to help us get these interviews done quickly. Can't wait to hear from Chris. He was so fired up when he got that pole position in Homestead. I'm sure it's going to be that and a little bit more here today because of the changing conditions. You really feel like you earn it more somehow when it's a little bit more dangerous out on the racetrack.
And you could really sense, Shay, towards the conclusion of that session, how drivers were really beginning to throw some caution to the wind.
Oh, yeah.
They'd been perhaps a little circumspect up till that point, but now they were thinking, no, we know what the track can do for us. We know what the car can do. We have confidence in our own ability, and they were really, really shoving. And again, this is playing out nicely in terms of script writing for the race to come, because we are seeing drivers that we would expect to be further up the order, further back down the order, so they're going to have work to do.
It's going to be a very interesting start with Brian Cook in third, Tony Davis in fourth, and then Justin Rothberg in fifth. Those are three of our championship contenders all together on the racetrack. And how about Omar Balkasoon qualifying in second?
Brilliant.
As we get a look at the results, Chris Cagnazzi, of course, with the pole position. My hat goes off to Omar from that performance and that use of the draft in particular to get himself up the charts earlier on. Then Cook, Davis, Rothberg, Brad Favre with a good qualifying session. It's Mark Musso, Dave Musial, Chuck Whittle, and Michael Mathis that round out the top 10. Then Michael Porter, Lawrence Wynn, and Brandon Cruz all setting lap times. So the race should be fairly entertaining later on.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's going to be a thriller when it comes to the race, as we take a look at our hospitality area here at Road America, and what a delightful place that is to spend some time. It's delightful to talk to Chris Cagnazzi, who has got pole position. He's with Amanda right now.
Chris, Dave and Shay were talking about just how much it might feel more earned when it's at a track with tricky conditions and things like that. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. You know, some of the curbing's still wet, but you got to kind of take your chances on it. And you got to stay on that dry line. I mean, everywhere else it's wet, so you got to really be precise with it. It does make it more challenging.
Shay was talking about the excitement after getting pole in Homestead. Is it a similar feeling?
You know, I think it's a similar feeling. I think that one was great because it had been 2 years since I've been in the car. I was only back in the car today from Homestead, so it's still been some time. So it is a great, no matter what, I think pole's a great feeling.
Congratulations, Chris. Did say that he's from New York, knows all about the Macy's fireworks, and the ones last night were spectacular.
Yeah. Tony Davis, thank you. It was an amazing show. Yeah, it was really great. Thank you.
Well done, Chris. Right, already sharper than a sharp thing. We're on it here because the Pirelli cars are out there on track for their qualifying session. As we look at the number 11 car of Jason McCarthy, then the first to show for Wide World Ferrari. Now, Jason McCarthy is always a driver that you certainly would not bet against, and a real mix of talent coming out in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli with the track conditions and track surface, may I say, Shay, probably as optimized as they are going to be.
Exactly. This is the ideal conditions for qualifying as it is now, with the air temperature a little bit down from where it was perhaps earlier on in the week when we were running. Jason McCarthy knows how to go well here. 2 wins back in 2021 in this category when we ran. So he's got the experience of the track. Unfortunately, with the repave, it's kind of made it a new track, but that's just a challenge that Jason McCarthy will be relishing, as will this man, Dave Musial 2.0. Did not get the run of qualifying yesterday. Needs that banker lap early on. He learned that lesson.
Oh, didn't he? It was a painful lesson. He did not get the rub of the green yesterday. You're absolutely right. And he'll be hoping to right the wrongs of yesterday's qualifying performance by making sure that he does put one into the safe ahead of time.
And leading this group around is none other than John Bennett, multi-time IMSA champion, race winner here in more cars than I can count, trying to get his first podium in the Ferrari Challenge Series. We welcomed him in at Sonoma, and now he's here back racing at a track he knows very well. Let's see what John Bennett can do in this qualifying.
Yes, very much looking forward to seeing what John can deliver in the 12.5 minutes that remain of this qualifying session. Delighted that you're with us here for Ferrari Challenge, our weekend in Road America. We're with the Trofeo Pirelli cars out there for their qualifying session to set not only the grid positions that will serve them well for the race to come, but also, if you're lucky enough or skillful enough to take P1, of course, you put a point into your points bag as well. Manny Franco, Ferrari Lake Forest driver then, driving the number 18 car, and just going out onto the curbs a little bit there as he tries to shortcut as much as he can. So we'll see what Manny Franco can do.
Doesn't look like he's got the happiest car underneath him right now. And yep, there we go. Manny Franco weaving back and forth ever so slightly, trying to get a bit more heat into the Pirelli tires. So perhaps this lap will be his banker lap, if you will, just a lap time.
Yeah.
And then the next time around will be the real push lap.
guess we talk about that. You know, the drivers go out, they do what I call an installation lap, you know, just to get a feeling. Some do 2, and then they really, really push hard. Others prefer just 1, and then they go for it. And of course, with the conditions the way they are at the moment, the drivers will feel, and you mentioned this yesterday, that actually the repave that has happened here at Road America, and also the high quality of the Pirelli rubber, means that actually tire longevity is not a problem here. So
Correct.
therefore the drivers can push perhaps for longer than they could at some other circuits.
Oh, indubitably. And this is a place in particular that tends to be very smooth. So the facts that the repave, when they did it, they didn't ground out any of the bumps that were already there. They left it. But now it just feels a little bit more wavy and gentle, as if you're riding on a kayak instead of being bashed around on a jet ski, per se. It's a very nice feeling for all the drivers out there to enjoy this track, and then to also have the confidence of knowing that you're not using up too much Pirelli rubber because you've got the advantage of having enough left.
Now the drivers here in Trofeo Pirelli, and also their driver coaches, they will have watched with even more precision the sessions that have preceded their session to see how this track has evolved. And it is now absolutely online, bone dry, and Manny Franco then with a 2:09.403 gives us our first time. Here comes John Bennett now. He's going to cross the timing line with a 2:10.593, so he goes to P2. And we will see how the times come down. We'll run the graphics on the left-hand side of the screen so you can see who's doing what and where. And Dave Musial Jr., the banker we were talking about, he's done it with P3, which actually soon becomes P4 because of Jason McCarthy.
Jason McCarthy setting a time of a 2:10.444. The body language of Manny Franco's car was far more aggressive than anyone else that we were watching that lap around, so he was pushing quite a bit harder. But it is now Custodio Toledo who goes to the top of the charts with a 2:09.267 as our championship leader and yesterday's race winner and pole winner and fastest lap taker. Matt Krajewski has gone through to P3 at 2:09.544. So we will definitely be seeing lap times for pole in the 2:08s, if not lower.
Okay. The bold prediction there from Shea in terms of where the times are going to come towards the end of the session, as you can see. For the moment, it is Custodio Toledo with a 2:09.267, who's the best of our drivers thus far.
Watch this guy in qualifying. Trophio Triarsi yesterday raced beautifully. He reeled in Matt Krajewski. He got to his rear bumper at turn 14 and then didn't have the ability to get the run out of the corner up the front straight to make the pass for the race win. I bet you he thought about that a lot last night his sleep and how to fix it. The easiest solution, qualify in front and stay ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. You're if you can gain that track position through qualifying, of course, the job has been done. We will see if he's able to do that. Currently, P2 is this driver, Manny Franco, then for Ferrari Lake Forest. And he is on something of a push lap now. And you were talking about the body language of the car, and you're absolutely right. You can see just how aggressively Manny is really throwing this car around the Road America circuit here. So Manny Franco heading towards the timing beam now. Is this going to be an improvement? I think so.
Yes.
2:09.179. Perhaps not as great a margin as I anticipated.
No, it's not that much faster than what we saw from Custodio Toledo. And here comes John Bennett, 2:08.424. Excellent job by John Bennett in the number 54 Ferrari for Foreign Cars Italia. What can... Oh, I didn't think it was going to be that. I thought Jason McCarthy was going to come through and surprise us, but no. McCarthy only up to P5 is Dylan Medler, the student at the University of Miami, comes through 2:08.121. Excellent job by Dylan. Can the other Miami boy get it done? Custodio Toledo, no, does not improve that lap around. And here is a Trophio Triarsi, 2:07.986.
Just love it when somebody gets something right. It's just never me. It's never me. Here's Roberto Perena then. He crosses the line. So the order is Triarsi, Medler, Bennett, Krajewski, Petramalo now P5 ahead of Manny Franco, and then Musial 2.0. Then it is Toledo and McCarthy and Perena.
That's quite a shock, actually, for Roberto Perena, the guy who's second in the championship, to be down in 10th position. Now, he hasn't had the best weekend, as Perena still looking for a bit more speed in his Ferrari of Seattle car. Let's see what he can do, though. A 209, 609. I'd expect him to be in the 208s at the least. Manny Franco wants to do well here, and he drops wheel at the kink. Oh, manages to catch it. What a scary moment for Manny, a man who just got the first win alongside his driver coach, Alessandro Balzan, here for the 296 in North America a couple weekends ago. Not one, but 2 wins at this venue. Got a trophy yesterday. Wasn't the big one, though. He wants the big one, and he wants the cool pole award, because what better pole award to win than your home track?
Of course. Well, that was a scary moment, but he saved that really rather beautifully, didn't he? And held on to it. And as you can see, with the pace that he is showing now, it's not impacted or affected him one iota. He's still absolutely going for it. But that lap somewhat compromised by that wheel dipping off into the gravel there. So Triazzi from Medler, from Franco P3, to be fair. Then it is Bennett. Now, this is Jason McCarthy, who's, dare I say it, languishing down there in P9. Perhaps we could see more from Jason before the session is over, of which there is 5 3/4 minutes left. So as Jason McCarthy crosses the timing line, he improves 3 places,
Yeah.
Shay.
And I think that was Triarci diving into the pit lane. No, Triarci's still out, so somebody did come into the pits. I saw a black back end. Not that it narrows it down too much. Can Triarci improve upon his 207.986? He does. Yes, 207.904, as Matt Krzyzewski, championship leader, is now up to second, ahead of Dylan Medler, then Manny Franco, and then John Bennett. No improvement from Medler or Bennett that lap around.
Continuing to cross the line then, and what is Michael Petramalo goes up to P8. Just, I can hear.
I heard wheels spin.
Yes, me too.
Turn 1, someone's gone a little bit awry. Now, who is in front of Petramalo? Because that would have been the car at fault. Well, we'll be able to tell who doesn't improve on their lap time.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. Triassi then.
Oh, Petramalo off the track in turn 3.
Yes, and it's still going to be quite damp out there, but saved it and saved it well, and he can continue unabated then. So Triazzi, Krzyzewski, then Medler, Franco, the top 4 in our Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli qualifying here at Road America.
Coming through, this is Onofrio Triarci. No, it's Dylan Medler in the number 15 machine. Dylan is on a decent lap. Now, his last lap around was 2:11 flat. So let's see what he can do, and if he can indeed make it up just a position or 2. Onofrio Triarci with the fastest lap the last time around did improve upon it. He's still the only driver in the 207s, and now he has 2 laps in the 207s. So let's see if Dylan Medler, with 1 pole position on the year, let's not forget, that came at Road Atlanta, if he can perhaps bank another one.
Possible. Absolutely possible. So we will see them watching the number 15 car right now, with 3.5 minutes of the qualifying session remaining for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. We're live from Road America.
Medler's off it. He's pulling into the pit lane. Stays out of the way of Custodio Toledo, who is on another hot lap. Custodio currently P9. Let's see what he does as he crosses the start-finish line. Triggers the timing beam. Was it 208.887? No, not an improvement for Custodio.
So drivers chasing that elusive 207, or finding it elusive for some.
Krzyzewski is in the 207s now, but it was not good enough for the pole. He is now 33 thousandths of a second off Triarci's time.
That's close, isn't it?
Very.
So close. So we continue to watch the Custodio Toledo car number 88 then, which is running P9 in our qualifying session. The session and the sequence of sessions from all our categories in Ferrari Challenge, where we started it with damp conditions, it's now absolutely dry. And this is Manny Franco out of position, P4. He is looking to improve, and he's got 2.5 minutes to do it.
Manny Franco going through the carousel now. Very tight line at the initial apex of the corner. Can he pinch it back down? Little bit off the curbing for the second apex, using a bit of the runoff curbing. John Bennett behind, not on that curbing. Manny is not afraid of any puddles that would be on the curbs, and once again he goes very wide through the kink, this time keeping it on the paved stuff though, not using any of the grass. See what his line looks like coming into Canada. Very squirrely rear end for Manny Franco. He does miss the apex and goes wide through Canada. Let's see if he can keep a quick time, though.
Sometimes, Shay, you can push too hard.
Yep. Let's see what Manny Franco can do. As I mentioned, he wants this pole position almost more than any other this year. Bringing the car back around and going up the front straight. Not sure. I think he's a little too far ahead to give any benefit to John Bennett, currently sitting in P5. Franco hits the line and does not improve his best lap. Neither does Bennett. So McCarthy and Krzyzewski, the only two cars to improve that last time around. Here comes Jason McCarthy again. Will not improve upon his best lap time. 1 minute and 15 to go in this qualifying.
Yes, so those drivers that we're seeing across the line now, they're about to start what will be their final lap in this qualifying session. And for Matt Krzyzewski, wants that P1.
Nope, 2:08.286, so that was a slightly slower lap.
So has he been setting himself up for this one? This will be the final lap. This is 2.0, Dave Musial 2.0, who's down there P10. Is this going to be an improvement from him?
This is his out lap.
You're absolutely right. So he's going for it now, isn't he? Because he's going to have some 38 seconds left on the time. Here's Dylan Medler.
I wonder if they came in and did tire pressure adjustments on some of these
It's
cars,
possible,
Dave.
isn't it? Because of the evolution of the track has continued, even though it is dry now. It warms up, doesn't it? A bit more rubber goes down. It does make differences.
It does, especially for David Musial Jr. and who's the other car that we saw come in? Dylan Medler.
Dylan.
Both of them looking for that little bit more speed. This is the opportunity to do it. 8 seconds remaining in the qualifying session before we get the checkered flag out. So they'll each get one shot at it. Roberto Perena and our current provisional pole sitter, Onofrio Triarsi, already into the pits.
Okay, we are watching Manny Franco now. Manny has been one of those drivers that really has pushed very, very hard, perhaps too hard in some of this qualifying session. Is he going to keep it clean and tidy for this lap and see us an improvement from his current P4 position?
Bennett's caught him. Bennett has closed up on him a lot this lap around, and Manny Franco dives into the pit lane, as does John Bennett. Neither driver seeing an improvement on their dashboard, realizing it's not worth taking a little bit of life out of the tires. Let's just come in now. Here comes Jason McCarthy. What can he do to improve? Currently P6.
So Jason McCarthy then to run up. No, he is, you're right. He's bailing it as well. So where we expected perhaps some drivers to see some improvements on that very, very final lap, we've actually seen them come into the pit lane, which was perhaps unexpected, as Castadio Toledo is going to do exactly the same, I believe. So it's where we are at then.
Matt Krzyzewski, is he still on a flyer, or is he too going to dive into the pit lane? Doesn't look like he is going quick.
Is he? No.
Musial 2.0 definitely on a flyer, though, because he had pulled out of the pit lane. So let's see if Musial can improve this lap around. Car number 31 for Ferrari of Lake Forest. Coming up the hill, he is currently P10, 1.2 seconds off the fast time. And he stays P10, but he does improve his time. So well done, Dave.
Okay, so it was an improvement. Unfortunately, that didn't make a difference in terms of the positions. And, well, with the session over now, I think we have our order for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. And again, there's a bit of a mix-up there in terms of some drivers that we would expect to see a little bit further up the order than they are or will be when it comes to the race. So in every single category of Ferrari Challenge today, we've seen a mixed-up qualifying, which means that we get a mixed-up grid, which does point to being yet further entertaining races.
Makes it more exciting, and the thing is, Matt Krzyzewski is not going to sweep the weekend because he did not get the pole position, and more importantly, did not get the point for the pole position. So the gap remains as it is going into today's race. A little bit later on, there is no change in the championship, and Onofrio Triarsi, this is his first weekend of the year.
No, you're absolutely right. So very, very interesting as we continue to watch the car of Dave Musial Jr. Making his way back to the pit lane. It's quite a hike because some 4-mile circuit this Road America. Triasi then with that P1 position ahead of Matt Kojewski. Dylan Medler and Manny Franco then rounding out the top 4, and the number 31 car of Dave Musial Jr. for Ferrari Lake Forest, as Shea quite rightly pointed out, did improve last time. Unfortunately, the improvement was not quite enough to see him move up a position in terms of the qualifying order, but nonetheless, Dave will be out there giving it his all when it comes to race time a little bit later on today. So it has been a real story in terms of qualifying, as we're beginning to see the sun just break out from the clouds now and change the conditions somewhat from those that greeted us when we arrived here, as Michael Petramalo is another driver heading back to the pit lane right now. So the forecast is for it to remain reasonable for the rest of the day as the Ferrari of Seattle driver continues on his way. So yes, very interesting.
We do have a slight chance of showers at the end of this race later on today. Just want to put it out there, just in case.
Throw me that curve, why don't you?
Well, unfortunately, that would mean a wet podium ceremony, so I'm really hoping that doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, me too. Yes, me too. So, yeah, we will see. Just the chance of a shower towards the end of the Trofeo Pirelli race. That would liven and mix things up somewhat. As there, you can see the Dave Musial Jr. car making its way down the lane. And there is the backdrop of the paddock here at Road America, and what a fantastic paddock it is as well, with the haulers there and their spaces made up in that paddock area. We will, of course, bring you the full and confirmed results of that qualifying in just a few moments from now.
I'm really excited about our race later, Dave.
I think it's brilliant.
Both of them.
You know, from a script writing point of view, you know, you just you look at it and you kind of design how you would like it to look and mix it up a bit, and that's exactly what's happened. And here is the complete classification then from Qualy: Onofrio, Triasi, then P1, Matt Kojewski, P2, Dylan Medler, P3, then it was Franco, Bennett, McCarthy, Petramalo, Roberto Perena, Custodio Toledo, and running P10, Dave Musial Jr. Did see an improvement right at the end of the session. It wasn't enough to move him up a place, but those are our 10 drivers from Ferrari Challenge, Trofeo, Pirelli, and exactly where they have qualified for the race to come this afternoon. So here at Road America, the front row is going to contain the Ferrari of Central Florida and Ferrari Beverly Hills drivers Triasi and Kojewski.
The two gentlemen who were first and second on the podium yesterday, Dave. So it sets the scene nicely.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So there we have it. And I was saying yesterday that this first time for me here at Road America, and the track is just the track is super. But not only that, the entire surroundings of the track, everything is so clean and tidy, and it's really, really well maintained. It's a lovely place to be.
It really is, and the food here at this track is quite distinct. It's one of the places that you come to, and you're never sad when you have to eat track food, because there's bratwurst and cheese curds and corn and the endless list of options. And the coffee that you can get at the Gearbox is quite good too. The breakfast sandwiches. I mean, there's a very nice selection here. But why would you go anywhere else but hospitality when that's also here? Not here every weekend, have to say. I wish Ferrari Challenge would just sort of leave it here for us. But no, that building's serving other purposes. Not nearly as decorated on normal race weekends.
Okay. Yes, I got to enjoy some of the bratwurst yesterday, and really enjoyable it was as well. So you're absolutely right. So there, the beauty of the trees then that surround this circuit. Of course, it's here at the Elka Lake, and it was back mid-50s, I think, when the track was carved out of the topography here.
They used to race on the streets around here. 1955, I think, was when they officially made this the circuit, and it has been a source of American wonder ever since. Lots of wildlife around, great opportunities of spot to camp, and, of course, places for fans to watch.
Yes, indeed. And we look forward to welcoming you back to enjoy the races this afternoon. But from Shay and from myself, thank you so much. And also from Amanda, I should say. Thank you so much for enjoying qualifying with us. We'll see you later for the races. Bye-bye for now.